In this session, we will talk about Amazon advertising, Amazon PPC. We will talk which parts of this part of Amazon business you might see going AI driven, and which parts will be still critical for human interaction and human decisions. And in this session, we have two great guests, both work with advertising and helping Amazon sellers with Amazon PPC. It's Jonny Golding from Seller Site Agency. Hi, Jonny.
That's a sneak preview.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Just how you doing?
And yes, and let's invite the second guest, Ben from Xnurta. So Xnurta is AI-driven Amazon advertising software. So you both work with advertising in different ways, and we will see some short presentations. But before we go into the content, maybe you can both introduce shortly what you do and how you help Amazon sellers. So maybe let's start with Jonny.
Sure. So I say I run an agency called Seller Side. We manage about 120, 140 million a year in Amazon revenue, predominantly within sports and outdoors and supplement space. Basically, what we primarily do now is kind of build a system, come to the account, fix the account, build the system, and then help either train or place staff to continue managing that system once we're done. So very, very heavily involved in the PPC space. We used to be called Amazon PPC, and we used to be PPC exclusive. So that's kind of our specialty.
All right, good. And Ben, what about Xnurta?
Yeah, no, thanks, Augustus. So my name is Ben. I'm our director of sales here at Xnurta, and we are an AI-driven advertising optimization platform. And through this, our mission really is to transition the school of thought and thinking from manual and rules-based automation over towards more AI-driven optimization for two main reasons. One, you're getting more accurate and consistent changes and optimizations to your PPC. And then on top of that, you're reducing a lot of your manual workload, which I think we'll talk about today. And that's going to better position your teams and your ad managers to think about more strategic aspects, like how can we look at our profitability in different ways? How can we leverage AMC? Maybe we can start testing DSP now with all this time. So that's our mission, to kind of give back as much time as possible while also improving performance for sellers.
Great, thank you. So I wanted to remind to everyone that while you're watching this session, you can ask questions. If you're watching live, you can just chat in the chat box nearby. And if you're watching the replay, you just type your questions in the comment section below, and we will ask our experts to answer them later. So yeah, I think we're ready. We'll go with Jonny first and then with Ben. And see you, Ben, a bit later in about 10-15 minutes. And I will bring the presentation of Jonny, and I think we are good to go.
Yeah, sure. So what we really want to talk about today is what's actually going to be changing through 2026. And obviously AI is going to be a very large part of that, but there are also some other factors at play here in terms of, how's AMC going to develop and the competitive marketplace and things like that. There's many things that are going to be changing, but kind of at the high level, big things. AI is going to become probably bigger and bigger, as I'm sure Xnurta we're going to talk about substantially more. So a lot of what that's going to be doing is taking away manual work. So exactly as Ben was saying, bid management, keyword harvesting, negation rules, all these sorts of things are going to either, to say they're going to be completely absorbed by AI might be a stretch for the near future, but it's definitely heading that way. So at the very least, the workload is going to be substantially reduced. So if you are a PPC manager or a marketplace manager or the owner who's managing the ads, you will be freeing up a lot of time for other areas within the account. And one of the big things that we see is moving towards a more sort of strategic view of the business in terms of why do you want to do something rather than how do you do it. So, okay, why do I want to spend more on this keyword? Am I trying to rank for it? Do I want to get more share of voice for this particular keyword? Is it important in getting people in the front end? And then I get repeat purchases out the back of it. Those decisions are going to be more important than, should I change the bid from $1 to $1.20? That's what AI can start to replace and start to automate and systematize and then give you the data to make those decisions. So we see that being a big, big move over the coming year. Outside of AI, there's definitely going to be a lot in terms of AMC. Like AMC just fairly recently got released to everyone. For those of you who don't use AMC or don't know what AMC is, it's really a way of segmenting your advertising into audiences. So you can go for like repeat buyers, new to brand versus repeat buyers. You can go for abandoned carts, for example. You can go for high intent, low intent. You can go for people who have seen a sponsored brand ad and not purchased yet, for example. So I'm really interested to see how Amazon are going to be developing that system. We think it's going to be quite a major part of it. And most sellers that we have a look at currently aren't using AMC at all, and we see that as quite a good opportunity. Obviously, it does really depend on how big your account is. If you're doing, low six figures, that might be less useful. If you're doing 7, 8, 9 figures, then naturally AMC is going to become more useful because the audience size is bigger, so you have a bigger sample size to work with. But it's definitely going to help build out some of the mid and upper funnel advertising techniques. Sponsored products, for example, is very bottom of funnel, heavy conversion rate focused, but doing sponsored brands and display, and then using AMC, which I'll explain in a second, can really help you reach people who may not be ready to buy yet, but ready to buy soon. So a really simple example of this is people who see sponsored display ads. If you then show them a sponsored product ad, the chance of conversion increases substantially. Some of the accounts we've seen that even double, so conversion rate's gone from about 10% to about 20% just by having seen a display ad, and AMC allows you to do that. So it allows us to spend a bit more money on some of those slightly less efficient ad types because it makes the sponsored product ad type more efficient by comparison. So we can definitely see that evolving over the coming year. And then the last thing is similar to the strategic thinking, but on a different scale, which is how do we think about our products in terms of the account as a whole rather than just product specific? So a lot of the sellers that we work with are very focused on every ASIN must make this exact amount of profit. But the bigger sellers that we work with, so the 8-figure sellers, typically think about the products in terms of the whole account. So we have a rather large fight gear seller. They sell boxing gloves and MMA gloves and things like this. And they have some very, very expensive gloves, sort of $200-300, which are professional grade. And then they have some less expensive ones, which are just the sort of $30 to $50 range. Now, they use those as a loss leader. They use those to get people into the brand. They know they can compete on the mass scale with those. And then when a percentage of those people become more serious, they'll come back and buy that $200-300 boxing glove, and that's how they're making their money. And that's a very long-term view. But on the larger accounts, that's how we're seeing growth kind of happen there. So all those big areas from a high-level perspective, just strategic thinking is going to become more of a thing, especially as we see the workload reduce from the likes of AI and automations and all these things, simplifying some of the day-to-day work within the accounts. And we're talking a little bit more about this here as well, but strategically, what do you want that product to do? Where do you want to aim it? Like AI is very, very good at deciding how to make a change once it knows where you want to aim something. So for example, if you're like, I want to rank a particular product, then you may want to run at a much higher TAC cost, much higher ACoS level. You can tell the AI to do that, and then the AI can make that happen. So again, it's not the how that you're worried about anymore. It's the what are you going to do with it. So ranking, push, pull, where do you want to go for profit or market share or whatever you're aiming at, AI can help you with the how, but you need to decide where you want to do it and why you want to do that, and still doing market research and understanding what the possibility of ranking might be is extremely helpful. Then we got the context within why you're doing something. So for example, AI is very, very good at processing data and giving you information, but it can sometimes miss a little bit of the context within the system. So for example, if you just made a bunch of image changes within the account and you're seeing sales kind of spiking, the AI may have made an adjustment into bids or placement, whatever it's done, and it can kind of construe that as that made the lift within the account. You know that conversion rate is increased because you've changed the images, for example. So making sure you kind of keep an eye on what is changing across the account as a whole, rather than just within the system that any sort of automations are running, is particularly helpful. So we really do see people needing to keep an eye on that, even if the day-to-day work of bid management, keyword harvesting is getting a little bit easier. And that moves us on to the beyond ads, which is basically what are the other factors involved? What's the competitive market space? How is the market moving? Are we getting higher search volume on this term because something happened on national TV, for example? Do we need to capitalize on that? How is the search volume changing? Like we had a client recently that sells a hyaluronic acid product, And all the search volume used to be anti-aging, and over the course of the past year, all the search volume has changed to ingredients. So that's very, very interesting. We need to see that trend kind of coming. Likewise, again, we've already mentioned creative. What are the price changes, discounting? Again, what's the strategy and purpose behind the movement that you're doing within the account, rather than how am I going to make this specific change? We see that as being important regardless of anything that ever changes, unless AI gets to a whole other level. I don't think that's going to replace this style of management within the accounts. So what won't matter or already matters less is manual grunt work. So going in with general SOPs, downloading a bulk file, adjusting the bids, re-uploading the bulk file. That's basic level work. Any automation tool can start to deal with that now. I say any. There are better and there are worse, as I'm sure Ben will explain. But that sort of work is just not necessary anymore. There's many tools that can make this much, much easier. Same with harvesting of some keywords. We have some thoughts around keyword harvesting, and we have specific processes in place because we run slightly more advanced structures. We have like single keyword campaign harvesting, and then there's certain ranges where, for example, if it has 10 conversions at a 5% aid cost, we might put it in a different campaign. So there's certain buckets that need to be figured out that may be able to get automated soon. But adjusting bids, adjusting budgets on a sort of campaign level, like this has run out of budget, give it an increase. Realistically, you don't need to be doing that moving forwards over the course of this year. Realistically, there's a good software solution that's going to be able to solve that for you. So we don't need to be focusing on that anymore. It can all be automated. So effectively, anything SOP level can mostly be automated by AI or software in general. And then, again, move towards strategy, because that's where you're going to be more useful. Right. Again, what areas should people be focusing on strategically? Biggest thing, most important thing to be focusing on in general with all the accounts. So why are you doing things rather than how it's working? A big thing which I think a lot of people can definitely benefit from is actually building the brand name. Now, this can be an on or off Amazon process. So what's the purpose of Amazon if you're an omni-channel brand? Do you want to drive external traffic? How aggressive do you want to be on your branded traffic? Are you going to run DSP, as Ben mentioned? Maybe DSP is a great way to develop more brand recognition and share. But the brands that we work with that are doing best do have brand name recognition. They do get brand searches. The guys who don't often struggle. It's much, much harder to be profitable. And even if effectively their non-branded typically works better. That's what we find. If they have a good brand recognition, even their non-branded searches are going to perform better. So getting a bit of brand recognition is really, really going to help you there. And again, last thing is context. What is happening in the market in general? What's the competitive landscape doing? What are the other changes within the account? How does PPC fit into that? So did you change the listing? Did you change the pricing? Did you group some products together? Did you make a new launch? All these things matter outside of PPC, and PPC is going to become a sort of a layer on top of all of that instead of a standalone. I need PPC to run this TAC cost and this sales number, and everything else kind of is separate. And we see it being a bit more inclusive as an overall system within the account. Right. So in general, we can see AI will not replace good PPC managers. Good PPC managers understand the account as a whole, the strategy as a whole, and the plan of why they're doing what they're doing. It will likely replace a lot of the PPC work that's done through a basic SOP sheet. Like I know a bunch of sellers are having sort of offshore staff that are just running bidding keyword harvesting. We can see that being removed by AI for sure. So that's a good thing for some of you. If you are paying some staff out there, there's probably a good software solution, and then you can start to focus on more of the strategic thinking. So definitely good PPC managers are still very valuable because they can understand how to use the AI to fuel their plan rather than just clicking and adjusting bits within that system. All right, well, thank you very much, guys.
All right, thank you very much. That's great. Yeah. Thank you for these kind of forecasts or things you think which will happen. Let's see also what Ben thinks. He's representing the software. You're working more manually. And I know before this webinar, you had some discussion already about this, friendly discussion. And I'm sure there will be a lot of people asking in Prague about this topic, AI in everything, not only advertising. So I think now, Ben, you can start sharing your screen and We will put it on the stage. And I just wanted to tell to everyone, like, if you have questions, type them in the chat. And yeah, if you enjoy the video, as always, don't forget to click like and subscribe to our channel. And I already see presentation by Ben. So see you, Jonny, in a few minutes. And we see Ben's presentation on the screen.
All right. Are we ready to go? Ready to go, Augustus?
Yes, we're ready to go.
Awesome. Well, Jonny, that was a great presentation, by the way. You and I are aligned on basically everything there. I think you guys will see a lot of that throughout this presentation. But just to give everyone a little background on who Xnurta is before I jump into it, we are an advertising optimization platform heavily focused on Amazon advertising and everything full funnel, from Amazon PPC to Amazon Marketing Cloud and Amazon DSP. You can do everything within Xnurta. And we really focus on being AI driven, but also giving you that flexibility as well. So just to look again here, our solutions span across AMC, sponsored ads, DSP, and then also other channels that you might be selling on as well, like Walmart, Target, Instacart, and other retailers that are still being integrated within our platform. And just to also call out, we've won several awards, and a lot of these are recognized for the AI tools that we've been developing, specifically these 2 technology innovation awards from Amazon. Now, in 2023, we actually won this for an application of our AI and sponsored ads. And then in 2024, we won this for our Amazon Marketing Cloud no-code solution. So again, we want to make sure we're providing, everything else you need, like Jonny was mentioned, to be strategic as you're automating more and more work with AI. You want to be able to do this all within one platform. And as you can see, we were actually the first Amazon Marketing Cloud partner ever officially recognized, and have been trying to lead in that space ever since. So before I jump into the AI, I just want to look at one case study specifically that was actually what we won the award for in 2023. And this is with our client Sunny Days Decor. And you can see there's a very big increase in sales here that comes from a very big increase in budget. But what was really automated here was a full restructure and shift in strategy. So I'm sure everyone from agencies to sellers to brands, you've dealt with this before, where you need to kind of just hit pause, create an entirely new campaign strategy. And if you have a large catalog, this is a huge undertaking. So Sunny Days, very seasonal brand, as we were coming into the peak season, they realized that the way their PPC was structured was not going to be optimal to hit the spend thresholds and sales goals that they needed to hit. So they actually leveraged our AI for ongoing management, but first and foremost for campaign creation. So using our AI, they actually created over 3,000 campaigns across 2,500 new ASINs, and they completed that within 30 days. And with that, they were actually able to triple their budget. And this ended up in a 408% total increase in sales and a 63% improvement in ROAS while tripling their budget. So huge time saved. And the other thing about AI that we haven't touched on as much is, one, it saves you time, but it also allows you to be more efficient and optimize at scale, which is just a human limitation essentially that we run into, that across 2,500 ASINs and 3,000 campaigns, how can we consistently be setting rules-based automation and manual adjustments in real time that are going to be mathematically accurate? That's just an area where humans can't compete with AI, and it allows a human to deliver much better results, whether you're an agency or a brand, to your internal stakeholders or your clients. So let's focus on our 3 AI objectives here. First is to eliminate manual work. Eliminating manual work is going to compound and be a compounding effect on your overall performance. And this is because now you're no longer in the weeds thinking about bids and budgets on an hourly or daily basis. You're now shifting that time and reinvesting that to elevate your strategy, which is point number 2 here. So how do we elevate our strategy? I think AMC adoption is still generally behind what we were expecting it to be by this time in 2026. So it's still a huge competitive advantage if you can start looking into the clean room for different strategic insights at a campaign level, looking at new to brand for sponsored products by different ASINs. How can you cross-sell your catalog effectively? And then how can you apply audiences that you build to different areas of PPC and DSP, primarily through like bid boosting with sponsored products, and then specific targeted audiences with DSP. And then 3, when you combine both of these, eliminating your manual work and elevating your strategy, you're accelerating your results within the same amount of time that you're spending already. And what is this opportunity here? So, we've come to find that marketers report spending almost 19 hours per week on manual repetitive tasks. And when you add that up over the course of a year, that is significant investment in payroll and time that is not really going towards, work that should be done by someone who has the capabilities to be more strategic. This is something that can easily be automated by machines because realistically, it's math. And math is always the first thing that I feel like should be automated by AI. So there's a massive opportunity here. This 18 hours can be reinvested in strategy. It can be reinvested in, looking at your product listings, your inventory management, all other facets, even outside of media and advertising. And here are just a few of our different actions that we use to optimize different facets of PPC. So with bidding, there's 3 main AI actions that we have here. It's how can we adjust your placement bids? So placement modifiers across top of search and rest of search and product pages, bid day parting, and then optimizing base bids based on performance changes as well. And then also we have targeting optimization. So we have harvesting, negating, and pausing targets based on performance. And let's take it a step further. We also have budget optimization and structure optimization. So we have budget day parting, boosting your budget if performance is looking in line with the KPIs you have set. And then reallocating budget is another unique capability we have within your AI groups, is how can AI dynamically shift budget intraday to make sure your highest performing campaigns are not running out of budget, but also if there's campaigns that aren't spending all the way through their budget, how can we reallocate those to higher performing campaigns that might be running out? And then lastly, you have the ability to pause products, campaigns, and ad groups. All together, this is 11 different actions that are automated by AI. So virtually everything from campaign creation to ongoing management can all be automated by AI. And with this, you're actually able to put in different parameters and inputs around each of these, which is very unique to Xnurta. Now, I think we believe that AI is 100% the future, but there's still specific scenarios about selling on Amazon and individual businesses that maybe AI can't understand. So you need to be able to put your own inputs into each of these, which we've built in and allow you to do. Now, Xnurta works very closely with agencies as well as sellers and in-house teams. And one example is from our client Vinculum. And there's a few key things I would call out here. When you use a tool like Xnurta to manage multiple brands, you're getting a lot of time back that you can reinvest into the strategy for your clients, but also client management and relationships. But the big things I'd see here is using AI, they're actually able to achieve a 30% increase in weekly sales and also decreasing their tacos at the same time. Then altogether, a 20% increase in time savings, which if you're an agency owner and you have people on your payroll, that is significant savings that you can then reinvest into other different tasks. And then I think we've talked about this a lot already, but where's our time best spent? It shouldn't be spent doing bids and budgets on a daily level. We should be looking at things like Jonny mentioned on the account level. Then also AMC. This is one of the most powerful tools that Amazon has released in recent years, and it is painfully underutilized right now. So we need to be using AMC for analytics. How can we build custom audiences and then apply those to increase our efficiency and our scale of our advertising? So why use AMC for sponsored ads? I think, over the course of last year, this was a big shift, and it's a really exciting development from Amazon. It's not just a DSP tool anymore. We can use this to create audiences and apply them to sponsored display, sponsored brands, but then most importantly, sponsored products where the majority of our investment is. We can make sure that with bid multipliers based on audiences, we are capturing shoppers that have a very high likelihood of conversion, or making sure that we're capturing shoppers that we've already invested in as well. So with this, we're naturally going to increase performance, and AMC is free. So the only blocker and the only investment it takes to start using AMC is time itself. Let's look at another case study for one of our clients, Hintwater. And this was essentially a full funnel application of Xnurta. But most importantly, if we look at the sponsored ad side, how can we use AMC and AI for sponsored ads to drive more performance? So I think the first challenge that they experienced was category growth. So market share gains were needed, but they can't sacrifice efficiency. So I think it's the age-old problem that almost every seller has. How can I increase my sales and also keep an efficient ACoS? Most times they can't go hand in hand, but Hint really needed both. And then manual optimization was just limiting their scale. It's a large company. They have large investments as well. They can't be monitoring everything on a daily level to reach the efficiency that they really need. And then the last thing is they wanted something more innovative. So an AI first approach versus legacy tools that use rules-based automation, that's always going to be static. AI is always going to be adjusting and finding the best price and the best bid through its micro adjustments. And through the solution, we leveraged our AI for sponsored ads, our AMC hub, and then it's a very quick platform transition. So one thing that we've developed from the beginning, and I think is a big barrier to a lot of other AI tools, is that we can take over campaigns that are already existing. So you don't need to relaunch campaigns. You can always just attach an AI agent on top of them and keep the work or even the custom structures that you've developed. And the results were just outstanding. I think you can see here, there's a 46% improvement in ROAS, 63% growth in sales, and almost a 50% increase in conversion rate. And about 96% of their account is being optimized by AI. And during this time period, there's over 200,000 different actions performed by the AI. And one thing we should look at down here is how well the AMC audiences they created performed. So alongside the AI that we were running, they created AMC-driven audiences that were targeting new-to-brand shoppers. So with this, the audiences delivered a very high ROAS compared to everything else. And now it's a main staple of everything they do. So I'll end it here with just this table here of, what are the different tasks that you do? How would Xnurta do it? And then what's the before and after and the ultimate result? I think you can see here, when you look at things like reporting, we have our LLM-based reporting agent. Reporting can take up 1 to 2 hours, per advertiser per week. This can be reduced down to 10 minutes with AI. Campaign building should be reduced down to 3 minutes per campaign. Anything with campaign optimization should just be automated 24/7. You're just adjusting overall targets. So if you look together these weekly time savings, you can cut down significant amounts. And then my main recommendation is how can you reinvest that back into your overall strategy and really start diving into things like Amazon Marketing Cloud. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Any questions from the chat?
All right. Thank you very much, Ben. Great presentation, great insights, and welcome back, Jonny. So, I wanted to again mention that these two guys representing companies which will come to Prague in March 21st. I will maybe share the screen to show to the audience what we're talking about. So it's happening in Prague, in Czech Republic. For the 6th time, we're doing this event, and we expect about close to 200 people at the conference from 35 countries. And so far, the registrations were beating previous years. So hopefully we will get more people coming this year than last year. But more or less, it's always between 180, 200 people. We will have about, I think, 10 speakers this year. Besides presentations. Of course, on the main event, we also have a day before a VIP day for those who want to join us join about 20 people, which invest into VIP tickets. So it's like a bit more serious, let's say, sellers coming to that day. And also we will invite everyone to join Barcamp, which will be on the 4th day on Saturday. And Barcamp will be in some co-working space, very relaxed event where people will be able to pitch their presentations, their topics, their discussions. So it's at the same time, we'll have like 3 or 4 things happening in 3 or 4 rooms. And besides these activities we are bringing to the main event, also we have in the plans to bring speed networking. Then we have expert roundtables, and also we have lightning talks, which are described on the website. So anyone who is participating in the event, who has a ticket or sponsoring the event, are able to apply to present a 10 minutes presentation. And we will select 6 talks, and in 1 hour, attendees will be listening to 6 quick presentations from our attendees. There will be sellers, and also, of course, there will be people who are providing services. All right, so I think that's it about the event. So you can meet Ben's and Jonny's teams in Prague, in European Seller Conference. I just hide this. All right. And now let's take a few questions. So you both talked about AMC, Amazon Marketing Cloud. So maybe, Jonny, I wanted to ask, so how do you think sellers could start using AMC? You said that now it's available to everyone.
Yeah, and by the way, we've actually tried Xnurta a few months back, and I can agree with Ben that the AMC system in there is quite good, and it's quite accessible. And I do think that's one of the reasons that people sometimes struggle with AMC is there's a lot of coding heavy solutions, and of course you can use AIs and try and find solutions with that, but some of the no code options within AMC are quite good. I'd say really simple stuff, just like check your abandoned cart rate through brand analytics. If you do have a higher abandoned cart rate, you can run some abandoned cart campaigns through AMC. That's like a really easy thing to do, because if you start trying to do path to conversion analysis, which is like how many sponsored brand viewers then click sponsor product and then generate a sale, you're going to have a hard time without a system. But something like abandoned carts can be really, really easy to run. You can just make the audience, chuck it on your major major campaigns, put a bid multiplier in there of 20-30% or so, and just see if you have any impact from there. That's probably the simplest way I can suggest someone get started with things.
All right. And I don't know, Ben, do you have something to add? I know you integrate AMC in your tools.
Yeah.
Maybe sellers don't need to think, they just click the button.
It's a bit more like that.
I mean, you don't even think as much with us, right? We have, audiences that are built out, that are pre-made. So you can just essentially select these based on different, outcomes and intents and automatically apply those to your campaigns. I think audiences is the first place to start, 100%. Like, you don't need to worry about analysis first. You're going to see a increase in efficiency if you add something like add to cart audiences or detail page view audiences, across any sponsored product campaigns you're running.
All right. Okay, let's take another question. Jonny, where are sellers, do you think, are overcomplicating when they work with advertising?
That's a very good question. I think people go one of two ways, actually. I think people either massively overcomplicate or massively undercomplicate things. So we get a bit of a mix where people have sort of one campaign with 5,000 keywords in, and they just hope it's going to work. And obviously you run into budget issues, bidding issues. It's a nightmare to manage. So there tends to be a bunch of people who group everything together, oversimplify, and just have one campaign with everything in. And I'd say a common problem is the opposite, where you have thousands of campaigns, individual campaigns for almost every single individual keyword, just running exact match with tiny, tiny placement adjustments. And if you're not running a very, very specific AI solution, which I don't actually recommend for many reasons, that gets very, very tricky running a system like that. So we see people trying to segment their audiences maybe too much, and particularly when they don't have the sales volume for it, because you need meaningful data for any system to work, whether AI or not. If you don't have meaningful amounts of clicks coming into a campaign, it's very, very hard to make an optimization. So I'd say separating out campaigns and products to a massive degree is quite a common issue within accounts.
All right, thank you. Okay, let me give one question.
I will
to
make
Ben.
a point, sorry, but Ben, your point around high, like AI's use in high product count accounts, I think is very, very important as well.
Yeah.
Which is where, like, particularly when you're talking about overcomplicating accounts, if you do have an account with thousands and thousands of SKUs like clothing, I do think AI is a really nice solution for this, because it's extremely difficult to manage thousands of colors, sizes, products, etc., especially if you're like a print-on-demand brand. And using an AI solution is super valuable for that.
All right. Ben, is there one AI capability in PPC that's maybe overhyped right now?
Oh, that's a good question. I think this, not to sound controversial, but AI bidding is almost overhyped, because this should be table stakes right now. Like, bidding should be the strongest part of any AI solution. So if you're coming to the market saying you have the best bidder, you better, if that's what you're hanging your AI solution on. I think PPC is so much more than just bidding in general. And that's where we've really focused, is the bidding has to be good if you have an AI solution. So no need to overhype that aspect. It's what else can your AI do? Because PPC is a big job. It goes beyond just bidding itself.
All right. And one question for both of you, probably. How do you think beginners should think differently about PPC compared to like advanced sellers? Yeah, maybe when they are beginning, they are like still don't see something which advanced ones seeing.
Sure. Ben, shall I go first? Don't mind.
Yeah, no, go for it.
I'd say the biggest difference between beginners and advanced, I mean, we would classify that in terms of revenue numbers. I know that's not one-to-one. You get some guys who blow up super, super quickly. But newer sellers have a lot less data to work with. So you can, if you start separating out campaigns to a massive degree, again, you have no data to utilize. You don't need to worry about some of the more advanced stuff in terms of like, I need to make a single keyword campaign for this long tail keyword to try and get some ranking off of it. It's like, this might be overkill for you. It's more about getting generalized volume into the account so that you can start to get some ranking improvement, start to get some data, start to get some conversions. When you're a bit more advanced, you have to start worrying about stuff like, are my keyword campaigns absorbing organic sales? How much do I need to spend on brand versus non-brand? Should I start targeting this competitor at a loss because I'm worried about them taking market share from me? And I mean, we can go on, but those kind of decisions you only need to worry about when you're kind of a market leader or close to, or trying to fight for it. And when you're a beginner, you don't have to worry about that as much. It's more kind of higher level. How do I get my revenue growth up to a point where I'm established and starting to get good sales volume so I can start to, you know, take the market share and move in that direction?
Yeah, I'd agree with a lot of that. The biggest thing is just keep it simple. Like, you don't want to overcomplicate it, especially when you're a beginner, because the more complicated it becomes, the more thin your budget is spread across your different campaigns. And that's ultimately going to hurt you in both the short and long term, right? If you spread your budget too thin, you're not going to spend throughout the day, and you're going to miss crucial different conversion times. And no AI tool is going to be able to make your budget miraculously spread across a day if it's too small. So keep it very simple. There's so many other aspects you can be focusing on, you know, in terms of improving your product, improving your listings, just marketing your brand overall, that will help grow your business long-term outside of just PPC.
All right. Thank you very much, both of you. I think, yeah, we're ready to end the session. But before we end the session, I wanted to mention both of your companies. So Jonny, maybe you can one more time explain to the audience what you do, how you help Amazon sellers. This is your website. I'm showing on the screen. It's sellerssite.com. And yeah.
You may see an update to this pretty quickly, actually, because there's some things happening here as well. But in essence, what we do is we basically analyze an account, find if there's a gap within the account. If there is, fix it, build a system that can kind of keep developing that business moving forwards, and then place and place a staff member or teach a staff member to start growing that account moving forwards for you. So you're less dependent on agencies moving forwards, because we don't believe you should have an agency stuck in the account forevermore. I actually think that's a very useless model in general. So yeah, we generally believe that you want to get a staff member in at some point and kind of have them take over the business moving that point forwards.
And how do you stand behind this claim? Find five. Yeah, like if
it's basically if it's there, it's there. It's not, it's not. We do the analysis. So basically, you can book a call. We'll do the analysis within the account. If we see it, we'll say, yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. If we can't, then we'll let you know the account's running well. So it's really a matter of the account. But honestly, as Ben kind of mentioned here, there's a lot of opportunities in accounts which are being underutilized, like AMC. So AMC, brand promotions, pricing adjustment. There's normally a hell of a lot of wasted spend within the advertising because of a lack of optimization. So quite a few areas. I'd say we have 23, 24 different things that we look at within the account. And normally there's quite a few. So it's generally not been very hard to find that, actually.
All right. Thank you very much. And Ben, Xnurta. So here is the website. So is it for everyone, for any Amazon seller, or there are some requirements for minimum revenue?
Yeah, I mean, really it can be used by any seller, right? I think there's some minimum size constraints for AMC, right? Because it's all based on the amount of data that you have. But I'd say anyone who's approaching being a 7-figure seller and above, that's where this tool really starts to shine, all the way up through large enterprises and agencies as well.
So you have like a setup for agencies as well. Perfect.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. And of course, both of these guys, or well, not maybe Ben and Jonny in person, but they are companies you will meet at the European Seller Conference in Prague. It's happening in 1 month, in 5 weeks. And yeah, so thanks a lot for joining us, for spending this less than 1 hour together. And see you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Bye. And now I invite you to watch another video playlist. It's the whole playlist with different videos about Amazon advertising. So we have recorded probably hundreds of them. So you will find them in this list. So check this out.